The growing importance of carrier contract negotiations is the topic of my conversation today with Rob Glover, Vice President of Sales with OSM Worldwide. Hi, Rob.
Morning, Bob. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being with me. So, in today's package shipping industry, I think we can assume that carrier contract negotiations are as important as ever before. Why is that?
Well, it's a ever-evolving marketplace right now. There's so many new options available to shippers today. When you look at the new entrance of the carrier market, lots of new options are available. So as brands and as retailers try to leverage the consumer expectations of today's consumer, the options that are available now are becoming more complex. So in a carrier contract negotiation, making sure that you're not going to maybe a one-size-fits-all environment, and really taking a look at what you do and trying to leverage your own profile of shipments to the carriers that are available to provide services today is vitally important to any company that wants to be successful in maintaining their costs for shipping.
Of course, the nature of those negotiations and the content of the contract is dependent upon who holds the balance of power at any given moment. And we have seen carriers in the driver's seat for a while in terms of capacity. Has that had an impact on the way the contract negotiations are undertaken?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, really, after the post-pandemic here, we feel there's definitely, with the new entrants coming in, creating more capacity, where the traditional options that have been available in the past still there, where they were when you look at the pandemic period, coming out of that, the capacities were increasingly built quickly to try to maintain that level of demand. And now we're starting to see a little softening. So I like to your point about the which shoe is on the, or who has the leverage.
Yeah.
That's definitely a little bit more onto the shipper side. So when you're looking at your contracts, trying to make sure that they are in the best fit as possible for your profile is certainly important.
So based on the state of carrier contract negotiations today, what steps should a shipper take to get started in a negotiation with a carrier?
Yeah, so I would just answer that with one word: data. Data for a shipper today is so important. To be successful in a contract negotiation, you have to really prepare and get the information available about what it is that you ship. In today's market, both carrier and shipper are very interested in the data itself. What do you ship? How much does it weigh? What destinations around the country or the world are they going? What are the dimensions of those boxes? And then what are the service requirements that you have for the delivery of them themselves? So all that bringing into the category of data, you have to have a good handle on your data to be able to get an effective contract negotiation. On the flip side, knowing the carriers that you're actually interested in, I think if you prepare not only with your own data, but also have at least a feel for what carriers you feel going into the negotiations will be at least in the ballpark for the benefits that you're looking for, and understand how they price things and understand how they typically will offer incentives to you. The pricing world in the logistics industry has changed dramatically in the last few years, with more surcharges, with different kinds of fees, even penalties if you have more or less volume than what you predicted. So there are lots of different things that are happening. So understanding how your carriers actually typically price their customers is also an important step, I think, in having a successful contract negotiation.
How important is it to be able to be accurate as a shipper about just how much volume and business you have to offer the carrier, given the fact that the shipper itself may not know what demand is going to be like in the coming months or during the life of the contract?
Yeah, certainly the more precise you can be with your predictions, you're basically limiting the carrier's risk, right? So we're trying to eliminate risk to reduce cost. And if you don't know what you have or what you're going to have, but you expect the carrier to respond to that, there's obviously risk there. So minimizing the risk by having good and accurate data will help you, I think, drive a better contract for yourself, for sure.
And of course, more data is available to us now than ever before. Is that not the case? The data is there.
Yes.
Just has to be drawn on and used in a meaningful way.
Yeah, I think in our industry, certainly data and the evolution of business intelligence in our companies today, where there's lots of data being collected from multiple points throughout the, whether it's the fulfillment process, all the way back to the order management process, and then ultimately down to the shipping. Trying to manage that and predict how much volume you'll have, when you'll have it, even down to the level of which day of the week will you have it, can sometimes be a benefit to carriers or a detriment to potential shippers, because everybody doesn't, the networks themselves and how they can perform, it's very dependent on having good and accurate information, because there's a lot of smart people out there predicting and trying to come up with a really good way to deliver those boxes and packages. So being able to give them good information so that then they therefore can create the solutions to deliver on time is pretty important.
What if a shipper has a contract with a carrier? Is it possible to get out of that contract?
Well, I would say today, yeah. I mean, it's more likely today, I guess, in certain circumstances today than it has been in the past. We come from an environment of more of I think most carriers in the past were always looking for a bundle where you were trying to leverage the overall package volume that you had in the past. And when you look at that, you might think, well, one guy can do it all. I can leverage and get a better discount if I give him all of my packages. In the world today, OSM is a particular in our industry, like multiple carriers is now the basis, right?
Because of the risk.
Because of the
depending
risk
too much on one.
And because of not only just the risk, that's certainly a factor, but another important characteristic now is when you're into a contract, trying to get out of that contract or trying to modify their contract, most carriers seem to be very open to a renegotiation.
Oh, really?
Because you think about the way the world works today and people trying to respond to the ever demands of a consumer. We're opening up new DCs. We're adding potential additional 3PLs to help with potential delivery constraints. So retailers and shippers are trying to figure out new ways to meet those customer demands. And while that's happening, their profile can change very, very quickly. And when a change like that happens, typically it would warrant an opportunity for a contract renegotiation. So I think more and more carriers are really open to, because at the end of the day, all carriers aren't the best at all types of deliveries or all types of transportation moves.
Sure.
So really looking to try to focus on the agreements that will help you maximize the right package going into the right carrier network, I think will ultimately make more companies successful when they look at their overall transportation spend. And contract negotiations certainly, I think, are a big piece of that.
Yeah, it really takes both sides' responsibility, collaboration, data for both sides to make a contract successful.
It does. And most carriers today, I think, respond with an attitude at least of, they know what they're good at. They know what they're best at. They certainly respond to, they respond to packages in their network that they can cost effectively handle. Hence the surcharges. Sometimes when you give somebody something they can handle, they typically charge you for it, which is normal. But as you can help the carriers get to a situation where they're handling more packages and more freight that they are good at and that they're cost effectively handling, I think that's a good move for both parties.
Thanks so much for those insights, Rob, into this whole issue of carrier contract negotiations today. Appreciate that. Tell me a little bit about OSM Worldwide, where you guys fit into this picture.
Yeah, so OSM Worldwide, we're one of the largest workshare partners of the United States Post Office. So with OSM, we focus on helping companies that have a direct-to-consumer criteria for the packages, typically in I'll call it a small parcel environment. So maybe less than a pound or under 5 pounds, the things that you can imagine fitting into your mailbox at your home. OSM really provides a value for clients to be able to ship products with the last mile being handled by the U.S. Post Office, and doing that usually within a 2 to 5 day window across the country.
Again, Rob, thank you very much for helping us to understand the state of carrier contract negotiations right now, as well as telling us a little bit about OSM. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you, Bob. It's great talking to you.
We'll be speaking with Rob Glover of OSM Worldwide. Thank you very much for watching.